Welcome in a post-Masters edition of Putting for Dough. Ben Rasa, Eytan, Shander, Chris is producing. We appreciate you all hanging with us. We'll look back at one of the more memorable events you'll find in the sports calendar. We ask you to hit that thumbs up button first and foremost. Make sure that you're subscribed here as well to the Odd Shopper channel as we continue to bring you more and more betting content, especially in the golf world. So we look back at the Masters, Tiger, everything that came, the charge from Rory, and once again, one of the top golfers winning at Augusta and Scottie Scheffler. And then we have Harbour Town. We have the RBC to look ahead, and there's a lot of value out here where you really need to be deadly accurate in order to succeed. Mr. Rasa, we talked briefly because both you and I knew that the Tiger appearance was going to be way more for the entertainment crew than the betting crew. So we got through Tiger and a bunch of other stuff at Augusta over the weekend.
We certainly did. And yeah, I mean, it always produces some memorable moments. It really wasn't that climactic. I mean, Scottie Scheffler is just out of control. Credit to him. He really fended off any challengers. Rory, who I was, of course, rooting for from a monetary standpoint and just as a fan, he charged, but of course he was never really in the tournament. He was just too far back. So it was interesting. Scheffler is, I mean, it's incredible. 4 wins in like 2 months. He's on top of the golf world. He is on fire. I knew going in, if Scottie Scheffler was going to win the Masters, there was just no way that I could get there. And that was the case. So I was in more damage control. Rory charging really did help me. You were able to attack some of the top 10s and top 20s. And then you mentioned Tiger, who we saw the fatigue. He can do it for 18 holes. Obvious. I think the next question is how long till he can do it for 72 holes, because he was absolutely on empty on the weekend, just simply didn't have it.
I tell you, the two images, the first day where he's out there, the sea of people, and rightfully so. I mean, the man is a living legend and everything he's done for and really with the game. So all of that is one thing. And then it's over the weekend where you get a glimpse of him walking up a hill to the green and just he's hunched. He looks like the older guys at the club, right, who have to walk because it just rained the night before. They're junkies, so they want to get out there, but they haven't walked a course in like 10 years. And he looks like he's aged 10 or 15 years over the last year. And you're right, moving forward, it's going to be, hey, great, if he shows up, he shows up. But there's no way I can count on this man to play 4 consecutive rounds of great golf, looking how he physically did, just walking on Saturday and then ultimately Sunday, if you got a glimpse of him.
Yeah, again, St. Andrews is a long time from now. He'll have a chance to get back there. Yep. My other memorable moment was Ty Hatton running an absolute muck on the weekend. He took his club and made it a machine gun turret at one point. I guess just mowing down potential spectators. He shot 80. He was throwing clubs. He does not like Augusta, and that's something I really need to take going forward because I liked Ty Hatton last week. He did fine the weekend, but it seems like it's going to be a long-term struggle unless he figures something out. And he was adamant that that's not the course for him. So just a little tidbit with him. Other than that, though, the great thing about golf, you move on. The next week, there are more guys, and this is clearly a much more wide open tournament than the Masters, where the cream of the crop, the best of the best usually are putting on that green jacket.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this specifically as we get into some favorites in a sec at the RBC. You're right, where it's going to be a little bit more open, clearly, from the field and looking at what happens in the next day or two as we do these shows on Mondays. There may be a name or two, and it's customary. Usually you'll see that heading into the RBC where somebody who's fresh off an Augusta trip thinks that they can get it, and then it's Tuesday night, and maybe the back or the knee, or just I don't feel like playing, and you'll see that. But you're right, where however much correlation we want to pull from last week, and Scottie Scheffler is going to be the obvious one because he wins. I get that. But there are a couple of other guys that I think are worth looking at just overall how they're playing. And maybe you use Augusta as a gauge, or maybe you simply just chalk it up like, hey, that's just one of the rare opportunities that a guy who even is struggling can come on there with his course history and familiarity. Really 2 guys that I think are going to be talked about moving forward on our shows that I wanted to get your thoughts on, because I don't think that the way things ended necessarily are representative of the whole week. But DJ, who I brought up, and Joaquin Niemann, who you brought up, I think, disappointing towards the end, but not necessarily overall a representation of what we saw.
Yeah, I'm not going to read too much unless you're on an extreme. And even then, I wouldn't go crazy. But guys, I think that you would be, worrisome. Like Xander. Xander had one birdie in 2 days and he missed the cut that he's never missed. Now, we're not going to be talking about him this week, but that's a little more concerning. Scottie Scheffler wins the Masters. Well, he's cemented himself amongst the very best. That's confirmed. Neiman, DJ, these guys, they found themselves somewhat in the middle of the pack, give or take. I think that's kind of a non-issue. You can look at a lot of these guys, Cantlay, Berger, Fitzpatrick, Lowry. All these guys were kind of in the tournament at one point and then ultimately not. They're in this field. I don't worry about what they did at Augusta. I think we just simply turn the page and evaluate. To me, the big theme, Eytan, this course is different than almost every other course we see during the year. It's not a normal course. So you have to change your skill set pretty quickly if you want to win at Harbour Town.
Yes, and I think the easiest thing to transition into that, the tree-lined fairways that make it insanely difficult to just grip the club and rip it as hard and as far as possible. You really can't afford. We talked about this in a couple of other courses where being accurate off the tee can help you, and you don't necessarily have to be long, and it cannot hurt you necessarily if you're not the longest driver on the course. Here, we'll see plenty of guys sacrifice the driver for the 3-wood, tee off, sacrifice 30, 40 yards off the tee, simply to just position themselves for a better shot, right? So I want guys this week, Ben, that can strike the ball at an elite level and can scramble, that can get around. If it's getting on the green on a third shot, or if it's just their approach, I want a guy who can scramble as well. So that's kind of what I was looking at overall. But again, I'm always curious where your mind looks at a course that's not the norm on tour.
So the first thing I think for me is always that distance is always an advantage. Even at Harbour Town, hitting it closer to the hole after your first shot is just simply better. But the difference here is that the way the course is set up, it neutralizes how big of an advantage it is. You can't get the most out of it. So it's not to say, oh, we rule out guys that hit it long. That would be absolutely crazy. But you have to keep in mind that the shorter hitters are at less of a disadvantage here. And you already mentioned this, driving distance is much lower here than an average PGA Tour event, and driving accuracy is much higher because guys are clubbing down off the tee, and vice versa, with the greens and regulation, much less here, which means there's more scrambling opportunities. It's a different type of test. You want guys that are accurate, you want guys that are crafty, and then simply just look at the course history and the tournament history. Winners: Stuart Sink last year, Webb Simpson won, CT Pan won, one of the shortest hitters, Satoshi Kodaira won, one of the shortest hitters, Wesley Bryan, maybe the shortest hitters. Those are the last 5 winners, the shortest hitters on tour. It's a pretty simple case to make what you need to do here to be successful.
Yeah, let's look at some favorites that you like, I like. We'll tackle the top of the board and then move to the mid-range, the long shots. The 40 2010 is back because we had the 30 2010. My guy got cut. Luke List did not make it. So
I just who I picked?
Glossed over that. EVR?
Dear God. That guy, I almost took Peters, and that would have been
I almost took EVR this week, by the way, just to troll
category of bad, but it's not working with him. No. He's almost in the I can't mention him anymore category, but no, we get back to 40 2010. The top of the board, my first thing I wanted to ask you this. Were you surprised at who's here? It's pretty strong. It's a lot stronger than I expected coming off Augusta. There are a lot of guys that said, you know what? I'm going to tee it up here. We have some of the world's best players in this field.
So the first thing from that, and I agree with you, the first thing I'm looking at these guys, and it makes sense, right? Like Dustin Johnson is trending upwards now from where he was at the start. Shane Lowry, who we're going to talk about, is playing exceptional golf. Morikawa started that. It was too little too late, right? So you start Justin Thomas. It was too little for him as well on Sunday to really do anything. But I'm looking at these guys that you mentioned, Cantlay to a lesser extent, but even still, like if it's Cantlay, if it's Berger, if it's guys who played not as well as they would like at the Masters, then I think you could look at it 2 ways. It's either a bigger name who struggled and wants to just continue to play, or it's somebody that we mentioned right there at the top, those other guys that are playing better, that are playing good golf right now. And it would make sense as we have the PGA down a couple of weeks from now, it would make sense to continue to play at this level, and maybe you win a tournament or two between them. Absolutely. I get it, and I think it's exciting, but I think it also correlates to a couple of these guys at the top playing good golf.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I think we need to take notice, we are filming this on Monday afternoon. The odds are going to be consistently being pulled off the board at times, and that's probably because guys are being ruled in and out. I know Answer dropped out, so keep an eye on that. We're going to talk about some of the potential prices that we have, but these lines are going to move. We will have content throughout the week, and again, our premium Discord is where you want to be as guys drop out. It will seriously affect it. So I know we're going to dive into the favorites. You want me to get this party started? Or
yeah, that's okay. Usually the way, just for Chris's sanity here. If you start with your favorite, then me, then you, then me, then you, then me, we'll keep that theme going here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hear you before me anyway. So
I'm going to set the tone. I feel pretty good about this. Rory gave me some momentum. So I'm going to start with the classic. This is an EVR bad, but Matthew Fitzpatrick, every week I'm like, wow, this guy, and then he never wins because he simply never wins. But he's been adamant that Harbour Town is the perfect course for him. And then you look at his results here, it actually hasn't been spectacular, but it's getting better. He had a couple miscuts early, but last 2 years, 14th, and he was 4th last year, gaining a boatload of strokes off the tee and with the putter. His game is just rock solid. He shows up every week. There are 25 to 1s out there. That is something that I think that we can look to. You know, you've got the favorites like JT and Morikawa and Cantlay, but that next range, I still include Fitzy as one of the favorites. I mean, the guy is playing great golf. He's inside the top 15 in 5 of his last 6 starts. He's been right there. He just hasn't won. At 25 to 1, it's kind of a macro buyout, a course that fits him in a field strength that's not major level. So I'll get things started with Matthew Fitzpatrick as one of my favorites this week.
How has he been? Because the top 2, I guess it's technically top 2 top 4 teams over the last 4 years. Is there any angle that you can take with him? Is it something that he started off and maintained? Is it charged towards the end? You can get him at a decent price, depending on where you look, right? DK is going to have him at 2,800 for a first-round leader. So there's another guy that I'm going to bring up that I think we can look at as far as course history. Again, this isn't a suggestion. This isn't even a play. But if Fitzy, based on how he played at the Masters, based on the fact that he's finished well here, 2 of his last 4 years, as you laid out, I'm always looking for that angle where you can find comfortability at a course combined with solid history. And it just so happens to help that Fitzy's playing well. So is there anything there that you would look at as far as first-round leader for Fitzpatrick, or is this just an overall play?
So with first-round leaders, I truly hate to say this, but I would wait because I want to see what the weather looks like. And if he's in the wrong wave, your chances of being the first-round leader are so much worse, and there's no reason to lock that in right now. So if he's going out early and everything looks good, absolutely. Fitzy can get going. Good putter, great course fit. That is something that I definitely think that you can look to. So I'm going to throw out one more, and then the floor is yours. I think that Patrick Cantlay, he didn't have it on the weekend. But again, just an all-around very solid player. The irons have had a slight downturn. If he gets that corrected, though, this is a fine course for him. Another guy with very solid course history, 3rd, 7th, 3rd, and he missed the cut last year, which I'm not worried about. It fits his game. Good putter, fine off the tee, doesn't do it with distance. Can't lay amongst the favorites, but I think that's warranted.
This is the equivalent. We see this all the time, right? Like in the NFL, a get-right game, where it's you've struggled, and now there's just circumstances where you can just get right. I feel like this is a perfect get-right course for Patrick Cantlay when you say that. And I think a lot of people will probably either forget him or short him simply because of he just hasn't had it for what we've seen normally, what we're used to with Cantlay. So I think you're getting him circumstances all around. I think you're getting him at a really good opportunity here to do something positive. That's a sneaky play here because I think a lot of people will either just move on or not play him entirely.
It's funny, too, because he lost in a playoff to Scottie Scheffler at Waste Management just like a month ago. And people so quickly are like, you know, Cantlay's not playing good. He was a non-factor at the Masters. He didn't play terrible. I actually like that. No stress on the weekend. He just played normal golf. Now he comes here. This is a good number for him. You know, you dodge JT and Morikawa. To me, Cantlay, 14, 16, 18 to 1 out there. I feel pretty good about that. He's going to be on the card this week.
I'm going to throw 2 at you here. It's basically 1.5, and then my favorite, who I'm going to come back to at the end. But I saw JT out there at plus 1,300 compared to triple digits at most books. So I thought it was just really difficult to pass. Look at that, 1,300 on FanDuel is just very difficult to pass up, where you're seeing him at like 900 at most spots, at least where I was in PA. So that number, just the value of the difference, seemed like it was worth placing. If you don't love him, and look, he's been consistent at the very least. So if you don't love him, then you can at least take advantage of the 1,300 there at a half unit. And then what I want to do, and this is what I was going to throw at you, because it's the first time that I'm really doing this here, is building a ladder with someone like Morikawa, who at, again, 1,300 to 1,200, depending on where you want to find, but you're still getting 275 top 5 on DK. You're getting top 10 plus 150 range on DK as well. This is the elite ball striker at a ball strike friendly course. It's just hard for me. And again, if the top thing doesn't pay out, that's why you build the ladder, right? So you go 10-5 winner. But I really, this is like the rich man's version of the 40-20-10 that I'm building with Morikawa.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to push back on Morikawa. Is always interesting to me because he's consistent, very consistent, but within his strokes gain data, it's volatile. And what I mean by that, when his irons are on, his around the green game is almost irrelevant because he hits it so close, it doesn't matter. And we saw that actually at RBC Heritage the last time he played. He was 7th in 2021. He gained 7.5 strokes on the approach. The year before that, he lost a 1 stroke on the approach. And what did it do? It forced him to scramble a lot more, and he lost 1.5 strokes around the green. If Morikawa's irons aren't fully on, it's suspect because he's not the best around the green player, but he's the best iron player in the world. So you're almost fully leveraging when you do it like that. I prefer Cantlay, but if you told me that you wanted to start with Morikawa, I would not push back.
I'm going to save my favorite for the final card here, and a nice little sprinkle there at the end. Let's move to our mid-range and talk a little bit about that. Some long shots, our 40-20-10 as well. But look, every week we tell you about what's going on here with our premium betting Discord because we want you to be a part of it. Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, Ben Rasa, all giving out expert picks, all with the top ROIs. You're going to get a way to track everything as well. And if you're part of this Discord, you're not just getting the picks, but you're part of the community, and tons of people are throwing out their own stuff. I mean, it's really a cool place to be. But most importantly, you, Alex, and Steve are winning some people money. That's cool.
It's a great community. You get to sweat the games, talk through things. We have different sports channels, all sorts of things going on in there. And it's just getting started. You come in now, you're going to lock in some of those perks as we build out this full package. You can sign up for the week, you try it out, you get in Discord and you see what you think, but it's great. You can pick up value on the fly, and I can't wait to keep it going.
Make sure you click that link below, sign up, be a part of it. And again, you can just start winning money ASAP. Let's move to some mid-range, and there may be a little bit of a discrepancy with one of my mid-range plays, but as always, you take the floor first. I don't know. I like to push the limits. You know that.
Yeah, this is, well, we'll see what happens.
I'm a line stepper.
A habitual line stepper. One thing I want to point out, we kind of talked about this in a different fashion. Doesn't mean it's going to happen every year, but the winners at this tournament are usually pretty long shots. So this is something, you know, some tournaments we get to mid-range and then we get to long shots. You can kind of say, all right, maybe a top 20. These are outrights. These guys can absolutely win the tournament. No doubt about it. And I like these names. Alex Noren, 50-1. Again, sticking with him. I'm going to throw him out there, playing good, blah, blah, blah. Same thing, macro buy. I've talked about him week after week in this video, but the guy I really want to get to. He was pretty good last week, never threatened. I bet him last week. He's come down to 55-1 after the 14th at the Masters, 16th out Valspar. Tommy Fleetwood seems to have found his game once again. He's 55-1, coming to a course that, again, he's only played it twice, but he's played it. I think that's very, very important. There's nothing in the course that I worry about for his game specifically, and he is in form. He has made 4 straight cuts. One was at the Players, one was at the Masters. All 4 of those results were inside the top 25. He's been flirting with the leaderboard. You're still getting 55 to 1. To me, this is a really good spot for a mid-range target on an outright bet on Tommy Fleetwood.
Wow. It's 55 to 1. That's tough to really ignore.
This is a guy, I know I'm going back a little and golf changes quickly. Yeah. Multiple runner-ups in majors just a couple years ago, and he was like 20 to 1 in those tournaments to win majors. I know his game has regressed, but he absolutely still has the form, and he showed it. He played well at the Masters. That 14th, I feel very confident his game is trending upward. If you're going to give me north of 51 in a field like this, I will take that every time.
It's not bad, especially when you look at a guy who, and again, if it's course history, if it's just familiarity, or if it's a buzz that you get a pop from last week at Augusta, these things definitely factor in at RBC way more than we've seen other tournaments. So I like the approach. Look, I'm going to take the 2 easy guys off the table here at 35 to 1, depending on where you're looking at it. This is Webb Simpson's course. This is the place where you go and say, let me get a number on Webb Simpson. Doesn't matter if the guy played 2 tournaments pre the Harbour Town RBC Heritage. It doesn't matter if this is his first tournament all year, this is Webb Simpson's spot. So at 35 to 1, depending on where you look, I get that he hasn't played a ton of golf by all means, Ben, but this is just home for him. The other guy, and again, this is going to be different because where you're looking at it, 5,000 on FanDuel. I saw it at 6,500 on another book. So the number at 6,500 is probably more of a long shot, but where he's billed in Matt Kuchar at plus 5,000 for a lot of spots here outside of that one that I found at 6,500 more. You know, Kuchar's another guy that has had this history, has had the successful history here, like Webb Simpson, who loves this place, who it's built for him, where even if he struggled at times, where he didn't even play last week, even if he struggled at times, you can make that similar argument that you do for Webb Simpson. Their ability to hit accurate off the tee, the ability to get to the green with their irons, and just this course that they've played well at. So those are the 2 I would combine for my mid-range plays and kind of take the chalk mid-range off the board, if you will.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, listen, Webb loves this place. It's more importantly than loving it, it sets up for his game perfectly. Kuchar, very similar in that fashion. I backed Kuchar at the Players, and I think that there's a lot of similarities between here and Sawgrass. Of course, he missed the cut there. Then he comes in 16th and 2nd the next 2 weeks, just a little early. So pretty target-rich environment. I'll say this, if you are betting Webb and you can find 35 to 1, you should take it. I don't think there will be north of 30 to 1, come Wednesday night or anything like that. That number is only going to go down, but I'll be honest, my card, normally I'd say that's it for my outrights. I do have some long shots that I actually believe can win the tournament.
Let's do it. I love it because I think metrics, how you play, if you're a tactician with your irons, if you can scramble, if you can do things, then let's do it. Because this is you mentioned Kodaira, like long shots can win this thing. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely they can. There's no doubt about it. And to me, this isn't even that big of a long shot, but I'm going to start with Harold Varner, who's playing good golf, made the cut, came in 23rd at the Masters. You can find him 65, 70 to 1 in the outright market. Now, he did win a tournament. It just happened to be in Australia. He was the runner-up here last year. Came in 2nd, was absolutely fantastic. Gained 5.2 with the approach, 5.6 with the putter. And even though HV3 at times can move the ball out there, he likes these technical tracks. Runner-up at Heritage, top 5 at OHL, 6th at OHL. John Deere 6th, the Players 6th. He has a theme, and it is this type of track. So he's playing good golf. Why not for his first PGA Tour win? I think that Varner is a very good play at 65 to 70 to 1.
Very under the radar with all of the other things going on, the bigger names making a push at the end. And you're right. I mean, for him to show up at the Masters and top 23, right, finish there, very impressive the way in which he played. So I think at 65 to 1, to come in here definitely toes that line as far as a long shot. But yeah, absolutely. Now you have a longer shot here. I
was hoping that we were like pressed for time or something, and I could have but now that you've mentioned it,
get him out.
I will say 2 things. One, Russell Knox is 130 to 1 to win, and we're going to talk about Russell Knox in a second. I don't think that's crazy, but Aaron Wise, my boy, 180 to 1. Oof. I mean, I don't really think, of course, that he's going to win the tournament naturally, but he is a winner on tour. And I will say, Aaron Wise, like Varner, prefers these type of tracks. Second at OHL, the same tournament I referenced with Varner. Third at Bermuda. St. Jude, another layout like that. Shriners top 10. OHL, another top 10. RSM 13th. He won at Byron Nelson. I don't see a huge comp there, but I do see some of the same similarities with Aaron Wise. Now you're going to have to hit lightning in a bottle. He's playing like garbage, but you're talking about 30-1 for a top 5. I think that's as aggressive. When you're down there, you're allocating very small amount of units. You guys know I'm a sucker for Aaron Wise. If you're going to tell me he's 180-1 though, in a field like this, yes, I do think you could put that on the card.
It's a long shot, my friend. I've got one as well. So it does. It only takes one. I'm going to go with a repeat winner, a man that you mentioned already, but when I look at my two long shots, they're split between two different approaches here. When I look at Kodaira, I get that he's had a successful history here winning this event, but he's also of the 10 guys, he's top 10 coming into this. When you look at approach shots from like 125 to 200, that's where you need to be really dangerous at this course with your approach shots. He already has those metrics this year coming into it. So he has the course history and he has this one metric that he's really been playing well at, shooting the ball well, hitting it like from 125 to 200, I would say, out from an approach shot is what I would look at here for a guy. Again, when you look at the odds at plus 25,000 for somebody who has had that success before, granted, repeat winner aside, he has the metrics and he has the ability, at least we've seen, to finish top 10 and win it. So long shot. More in that Harold Varner III range for me would be Adam Hadwin, because the other side I would look at it would be, all right, how are you strokes gained approach? How are you when it comes to, strokes gained around the green? He is the guy that continues to pop up when you're looking at strokes gained approach, strokes gained around the green. Even if you start to look at fairways gained, he's in that metric as well. So he's a guy that I was looking at, Ben, at 65-1 that starts to pop up. Even if he's like 8th or 9th as far as top 10 and all these different metrics, he still is starting in that Venn diagram. And maybe it's just I love me some Adam Hadwin. I can't quit him, but I'm going to roll with Hadwin as more of my reasonable long shot, and then Kodaira is that long shot.
Again, this is a good tournament to take some of these shots. And my last thing before we give our 40, 20, 10 and duck on out of here.
Yep.
If you bet some guys and they happen to withdraw, nothing happens. You get your money back if they don't hit a shot. But if other players withdraw, all the numbers are going to come down. So this is a good tournament to kind of put in some of your bets on the earlier side. The numbers that we're referencing, they're being updated in real time, and a lot of them are going to come down. Say, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but say someone like JT said, you know what, I'm not going to play. Everybody's number is going to crater. And if you've locked in your number, you're going to get a ton of closing line value. So that's something to keep in mind with a tournament like this coming off of Augusta.
40, 20, 10. Only rule is that they have to be plus money at 40, plus money at 20, which will happen, and then 10, of course. So really it's trying to find a gem as plus money top 40. Who you got?
Russell Knox.
The guy you made fun of me last week or 2 weeks ago.
Because he doesn't have to win the tournament. This isn't 1-1-1. It's 40, 20, 10. He can just make the top 40. He's good at technical tracks. He's got a record at Sawgrass, which I mentioned as a comp. Plus 130 for that top 40. He's made 7 straight cuts. Playing good golf. I think Russell Knox, not saying he's going to win, but I do think he is a factor this week.
I'm going to take everything I laid out for Kodaira and approach it and basically cut and paste it for Grillo, because I think Emmanuel Grillo, look, I know he's a guy that has cost you some money, has he not?
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. I'll tell you some stories one day.
Everything, that's another show. That's like an outtakes, a putting for dough outtake.
That's after
shows.
dark. Okay.
Exactly.
Confessions. Oh my God.
You could cut and paste, you could swap. It doesn't matter. My 40, 20, 10 guy technically is Grillo, but look, you can do the same thing with Kodaira. I just happened to pick Kodaira because he has the longer odds to win this, but I think Grillo's got a great shot again because he matches up with all of those same metrics that I mentioned, with Kodaira being deadly from 125 to 200 yards out as an approach shot, especially if you start like 175 to 200. To be able to nail an approach shot from that distance at this course is going to be wonders for you. So that's my 40, 20, 10 guy, plus 220 top 40. I don't expect you to like it, Ben. I knew you wouldn't like it.
I mean, he's one of my favorite golfers. He's just broken. So I get it. So hit me. I know we're going to our final cards. I'll give mine real quick, and then you can get us out of here. I like Fitzy at the top. I like Fleetwood in the middle. I think that Knox as a kind of wheel, low allocation wheel, is a very good move. Aaron Wise, you need the right number if you're going to play the lotto. I think you could do without that. But to me, Fitzy, Fleetwood, and then Russell Knox as that 40, 20, 10 are kind of the cornerstones, the foundational pieces of my betting card. So that's what I'm going to do. If you want the full card and you have questions, Premium Discord is where you want to be. But you said there was a guy that you saved for your final card. Who is that player? Because this is actually a real question. I don't know the answer to this. Who is that guy?
He's at plus 2,000 on FanDuel, which seems a little off. The way in which he's been playing as of recent and the course history that he's had at Harbour Town. But Shane Lowry, for me, is a smash this week at plus 2,000. He is playing amazing golf right now, and he has the history at the RBC to bank on. So at 2,000, I jumped on him. Grillo, again, my 40, 20, 10 guy. I am going to put, just like I did with Kodaira, a little splash on him, quarter unit or so, plus 2,000, 20,000, pardon me, to win this thing. And then lastly, this is all dependent, as you've said, on where he's teeing off, when, and the weather. But if we're talking about somebody who loves this course, that you may not want to hear, but still loves this course, it's Joaquin Niemann at plus 3,500 as a first round leader. If everything works out for when he's teeing off with the weather, I'm going to take a shot at that as well.
These are the little small edges that you have to do with golf betting. Tee times, who's in, withdraws, beat the closing lines. That's what we're going to do. But I think this is one of the better betting weeks. It's a wide open tournament. It's post Augusta. We've seen some wacky winners here, and you can make your whole season off one big outright. If one of these guys wins, you're good for 2 years if you got that right number. So I'm excited to dive into this. I feel pretty good, even though Heritage has been tough at times. This is a good week to put down some positions in the betting markets.
I have to say, I like our card. And I never say that. You go back and look at every show.
Yeah,
I
never
really
say
like
that. That's true. I feel pretty good too.
Exactly.
So congrats to like Russell Henley when he wins now. Just someone we have not mentioned, but
yeah, another Russell. Right. Of course. That's how it would be. At JazzRaz DFS, at Shander Show for me. Thanks to Chris for producing as always. Thanks to you out there. We don't ask much. Hit that thumbs up button, please, if you haven't already. And make sure you're subscribed to the Odd Shopper channel, because tons of golf content coming your way, but really betting content throughout the board. Anything you can bet on right now going on in the sports world, we're going to have insight for you. It's Odd Shopper. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and we'll see you next week on Putting for Dough.